Let's be honest. This is exactly the kind of drama Cleveland sports fans have lived through before, but this one just feels different. You got Shedeur Sanders, a fifth-round rookie who walked into his very first NFL preseason game and played like he's been doing this on Sundays for years. Poise? Check. Precision? Double check. Decision-making that makes defensive coordinators sweat? Absolutely. He dropped 2 touchdowns, committed 0 turnovers, and even against this guy's blitzes, the kind that make most rookies start seeing ghosts, he didn't flinch. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. If you're a Browns fan, you saw it and thought, okay, we might really have something here. But then, here comes the curveball. Head coach Kevin Stefanski, the man holding the keys to the depth chart, steps up to the microphone after the game. And instead of saying, yes, we're giving Shedeur more first-team reps, let's see where this goes, he gives a polite clinical coach speak about evaluation and development, which, for fans who've been down this road a dozen times before, sounds suspiciously like stalling. That's when the friction started. In the city, on talk radio, in the comment sections, you could feel the shift. Browns fans don't just want to see Sanders play more. They're starting to demand it. Because here's the thing. Cleveland has had a long, painful history with quarterbacks. They've watched safe choices flame out. They've seen promising moments crushed by conservative thinking. And after one game, Sanders looks like he might be the guy to finally shatter that pattern. So why isn't Stefanski pushing him forward? Well, depending on who you ask, it could be about protecting the so-called hierarchy in the quarterback room. Maybe it's about keeping the veterans happy, honoring certain contract situations, or avoiding perception of a full-blown quarterback controversy before week 1. Some people even think it's about keeping the media storm, the one that comes with being Deion Sanders' son, from becoming a distraction. Here's where it gets juicy. The timing couldn't be more perfect or more dangerous. The Browns are heading into joint practices with the Philadelphia Eagles, one of the most complete and physical rosters in the league. This is no ordinary training session. The Eagles' defense is fast, disciplined, and loves to make quarterbacks uncomfortable. If Stefanski lets Sanders run with the ones during these practices, and Shedeur shows the same composure he did in his debut, the conversation changes completely. Suddenly, it's not just fans and media calling for him to move up, it's teammates. And once you have a locker room leaning your way, things get real awkward for a head coach trying to hold the line. But if Stefanski keeps him strictly with the second team during these sessions, that's when the frustration is going to boil over. You can already hear the phone calls on Cleveland sports radio. Why are we wasting this kid's momentum? If we're scared to test him now, when will we? The city has been burned too many times to just sit quietly and hope the decision-makers see what we see. And let's not pretend the Deion factor isn't looming over all of this. Shedeur's last name alone puts him under a national microscope. Every decision Stefanski makes will be overanalyzed not just by local beat reporters, but by national shows, podcasts, and YouTube channels dissecting every frame of his preseason film. Stefanski isn't just managing a roster. He's managing a media narrative. One wrong move, and he's painted as the coach who either rushed a young quarterback too soon or the one who held back a rising star because of politics. Neither of those labels is flattering. The Browns fan base knows exactly what's at stake here. This isn't about hype for hype's sake. This is about capitalizing on a moment before it slips away. Sanders' debut was more than a good stat line. It was a signal. You could see it in the way he handled pressure, the way he trusted his reads, the way his teammates responded to him. He didn't look like a guy surviving preseason reps. He looked like a guy setting a tone. Now, imagine what happens if he brings that same energy against the Eagles starters in controlled but high-intensity practice setting. The footage leaks out, Shedeur threading a pass between 2 Pro Bowl-level defenders, calmly evading a blitz, maybe even leading a long scoring drive. The headlines write themselves. Sanders outshines expectations again. That kind of momentum isn't something you shelve until next summer. And yet, Cleveland fans have a nagging fear. The fear that the team will, once again, lean on caution until the opportunity fades. that the desire to not rock the boat will outweigh the need to inject this offense with something dynamic and new. They've seen too many quarterback of the future. Types get stuck holding a clipboard while the season slips away. That's why this moment feels so charged. It's not just about who's taking snaps in August. It's about whether the Browns are willing to embrace potential when it's right in front of them. Stefanski's comments didn't calm the waters. They stirred them. If anything, the deliberate, slow-play approach has made fans even more eager to see Sanders given a fair shot now, not next year. You can also sense that some of the veterans are watching closely. Football players can spot the real thing a mile away, and while locker rooms are careful about publicly challenging depth chart decisions, those subtle nods, handshakes, and side conversations tell the real story. If Shedeur earns a quiet endorsement of guys like Myles Garrett or Amari Cooper after these Eagles practices, that influence will trickle upward. The upcoming days are going to be a chess match. Stefanski balancing reps, media questions, and locker room politics, while Sanders just keeps doing what he's been doing, staying calm, studying the playbook, and making the most of whatever opportunities he gets. And that's part of what makes Sanders so dangerous in the best way. He's not out here campaigning for the job in front of cameras. He's not forcing plays to prove a point. He's just playing clean football, the kind that makes it impossible to justify keeping him on the sideline. If this were any other rookie quarterback in any other city, maybe the coach could slow play it without much pushback. But this is Cleveland, a city desperate for something to believe in, watching a quarterback who might finally be worthy of that belief. You can't put that genie back in the bottle. So here's the real question hanging over Berea right now. Is Kevin Stefanski going to be the guy who recognized a moment and sees it, or the guy who played it safe and let it slip away? Because fair or not, the answer is going to find more than just the quarterback position. It could define his tenure. And for Sanders, the beauty of his situation is that the pressure isn't on him to make that decision. All he has to do is show up against the Eagles, play his game, and keep putting Stefanski in an impossible position. Every crisp throw, every smart read, every moment of composure is another log on the fire. Eventually, the flames get too big to ignore. By the time the preseason is over, this may not even be a debate anymore. But for now, Cleveland waits, debates, and wonders if this time, finally, the Browns will get it right. All right, so let's move past the he's a rookie with potential conversation, because Shedeur Sanders has already graduated from that stage. What's really fascinating right now is the political theater surrounding his rise in Cleveland, and how the decision to give or not give him first-team reps in the coming weeks could have ripple effects far beyond this season. The first new angle to look at is how Sanders' presence is subtly shifting practice culture. In most NFL camps, the pecking order at quarterback is crystal clear. Starters take their scripted reps, backups get cleanup work, and rookies are there mostly to absorb. But Sanders is disrupting that rhythm. Even when he's working with the second team, he's running drills at a higher tempo, calling out adjustments at the line, and treating every rep like it's the 2-minute drill in a playoff game. That energy forces the other guys on the field, veterans included, to elevate. Coaches notice that, even if they don't say it in press conferences. Another fresh point is how the Browns' playbook could evolve if Sanders actually became the starter. This isn't just about him throwing deeper or being more mobile than the veteran options. His college background in an NFL-style system means the Browns can integrate more layered passing concepts without a massive learning curve. Imagine a Cleveland offense that uses quick game tempo to control the ball, then hits with sudden vertical shots. That's Sanders' sweet spot. The ripple effect on the run game would be huge because defenses would have to respect the entire field instead of loading the box. Then there's a marketing and branding shift this could spark. Right now, Sanders is already one of the most talked about rookies in the league, and that's without being the full-time starter. If he were named QB1, the Browns wouldn't just have a quarterback. They'd have a storyline the NFL could sell nationally. That means more primetime slots, more national broadcasts, and more chances for Cleveland to break out of the local interest-only zone they've been stuck in for decades. Whether Stefanski admits it or not, that kind of exposure can affect everything from ticket sales to free agency recruiting. Let's also talk about locker room recruitment. Players around the league talk, and word travels fast about which quarterbacks make life easier for their teammates. Sanders' calm, player-first mentality is the kind of thing that gets shared in text threads between veterans when free agency rolls around. If Cleveland can say, "We have a young QB who gets it and will be here for years," they suddenly become a much more attractive destination for skill position players who want stability. And speaking of skill players, the chemistry Sanders could develop with younger offensive weapons is worth noting. Pairing a young QB with emerging receivers allows them to grow together over multiple seasons, building timing and trust that you can't fake. That's how the league's most dangerous QBWR duos are formed. Not by throwing a rookie into chaos, but by letting him develop in sync with the people catching his passes. Here's another point. Sanders' football IQ isn't just about reading defenses. It's about understanding game flow. Even in his debut, you could see him feeling out the pace of the game and adjusting on the fly. He doesn't get flustered by a stalled drive, and he doesn't rush into hero ball mode after a big play. That kind of maturity usually takes quarterbacks years to develop, and the sooner Cleveland leans into it, the more wins they can steal in close games. One thing not enough people are talking about is how Sanders' presence challenges the organizational hierarchy. Every NFL team says the best players should play, but in reality, politics, contracts, and reputations often factor into who gets a starting job. If Sanders continues to outshine veterans in both performance and presence, Stefanski and the front office will be forced into a decision that could ruffle feathers. Either commit to the kid and risk upsetting established players, or stick with the veterans and risk losing the fans' trust. From a defensive strategy standpoint, Sanders also gives Cleveland an indirect advantage. His quick release neutralizes heavy pass rushes, which in turn keeps opposing defenses on the field longer and wears them down. That means when Cleveland's own defense takes the field, they're fresher and more aggressive. Over the course of a season, that can be the difference between finishing strong or fading in December. Now, let's talk about ownership optics. Jimmy Haslam has been known to make bold, headline-grabbing moves, and locking in Sanders as the face of the team would fit that mold perfectly. Owners love a quarterback who can win games and drive business, and Sanders is built for both. If this becomes a tug-of-war between cautious coaching and ambitious ownership, things could get messy fast, and fans almost always side with the player in that scenario. Another fresh angle is the generational shift Sanders represents. The NFL is moving toward quarterbacks who can win with their arm, but also adapt to broken plays without panicking. Sanders isn't a run-first guy, but he's mobile enough to punish defenses if they leave him space. That dual-threat capability is what's winning championships right now, and Cleveland can't afford to ignore that trend just to preserve tradition. And then there's the national perception battle. Right now, Cleveland is seen as a franchise that has struggled to manage quarterback talent. If they mishandle Sanders, either by holding him back too long or throwing him into the fire without proper support, it'll reinforce that narrative. But if they get it right, they have a chance to completely rewrite the story of the Browns in the modern era. One last point. Sanders' composure under media pressure is a competitive advantage in itself. He's not a soundbite liability. He knows how to deflect distractions and keep focus on the team. In a league where one bad press conference can snowball into a week-long controversy, that maturity is gold. When you put all this together, you realize we're not just talking about whether Shedeur Sanders gets more first-team reps in August. We're talking about a decision that could reshape the Browns' identity, their offensive philosophy, their locker room chemistry, and even their relevance on the national stage for years to come. The Eagles' joint practices are the first big test, but the real drama is what happens after. When the excuses run out, the performances speak for themselves, and Stefanski has to choose between the safe route and the bold one. Here's where a conversation about Shedeur Sanders takes a turn most people aren't thinking about yet. The ripple effect his development could have on the defensive side of the Browns roster. When you have a quarterback who can sustain long drives, it changes the workload for your defense entirely. Instead of being on the field for 70 plays a game, gassed by the fourth quarter, Cleveland's defense could be playing fresher, sharper football late in games. That matters in the AFC North, where so many matchups are decided in the trenches in the final minutes. Myles Garrett chasing a quarterback in the fourth with fresh legs? That's a nightmare scenario for the other team, and Sanders' ball control style could make it happen regularly. It's also worth looking at how Sanders' presence could influence practice competitiveness. Defenders sharpen their skills when they face high-level quarterback play every day. If Sanders consistently challenges the secondary with tight window throws, it forces cornerbacks and safeties to elevate their game, and that shows up on Sundays against opponents. A sharp practice environment is one of the most underrated benefits of having a high IQ quarterback. Then, there's the matter of offensive line development. Young quarterbacks often get happy feet behind shaky lines, which can make blockers look worse than they are. Sanders' ability to stay composed, read protections, and adjust in real time can actually make the line's job easier and help young linemen grow. The less they're scrambling to recover from panic plays, the more they can focus on executing their assignments cleanly. Off the field, Sanders could play a key role in shaping the Browns' team culture. His work ethic and preparation habits are already being noticed. In a sport where rookies often have to adjust to the speed and complexity of the game, he's showing up with veteran-level focus. That has a contagious effect, especially on other young players trying to find their footing. Another thing to consider is Sanders' adaptability to different offensive coordinators and schemes. The NFL is a revolving door when it comes to coaching staffs, and a quarterback who can adapt without losing production is incredibly valuable. Sanders' background, from his college system to the pro-level concepts he's already running, suggests he could survive a scheme change without needing years of adjustment. That's stability teams can't put a price on. Speaking of stability, there's a financial angle to this too. Rookie quarterbacks on team-friendly contracts allow franchises to spend aggressively at other positions. If Sanders proves to be the real deal, the Browns have a 2 to 3 year window to load up on elite free agents before his eventual extension takes a chunk of the salary cap. That's how teams like the Chiefs and Eagles made their early runs. Capitalize while the QB is affordable. On the fan side, Sanders could reignite the younger generation's connection to the Browns. Cleveland has a loyal base, but it's been a long time since kids had a quarterback they wanted to emulate. Sanders, with his composure, swagger, and modern game, is the type of player young fans want to wear on their jerseys and mimic in backyard games. That kind of cultural imprint keeps a fan base energized for decades. There's also a strategic point about divisional matchups. The AFC North is full of aggressive, blitz-heavy defenses. A quarterback who can punish the blitz with quick, accurate throws can flip those matchups on their head. Sanders' preseason tape already shows him identifying pressure early and delivering before the hit. If that holds in regular season play, it forces divisional rivals to rethink their defensive game plans against Cleveland entirely. We should also look at Sanders' potential role as a mentor despite being a rookie himself. Not in the teaching sense, but in the way his composure can help settle less experienced players in high-pressure situations. If a young wideout drops a pass or a rookie lineman misses a block, Sanders isn't the type to throw them under the bus. That builds loyalty, and loyalty builds trust on the field. Then there's the media dynamic. The Browns have had quarterbacks who either avoided the spotlight entirely or stirred it up for the wrong reasons. Sanders strikes a rare balance. He knows how to handle the press without giving them unnecessary ammunition, but he's also confident enough to own the moment when the cameras are on. That means fewer off-field controversies and more focus on football. One last fresh angle, injury insurance. The reality of the NFL is that starters go down. Having a player like Sanders ready to step in without the offense collapsing is a massive advantage. Even if he isn't named QB1 this year, his readiness makes the Browns less vulnerable to a season-derailing injury at the position. And if he is QB1, his quick processing helps him avoid big hits in the first place. All of this combines into one undeniable truth. Sanders isn't just a talented rookie. He's a structural advantage waiting to be fully leveraged. Every rep he gets with the starters accelerates not just his development, but the overall trajectory of the Browns as a franchise. And the longer they wait to test him against the best, the more they risk slowing down a transformation that feels, for once, within reach. His impact on the Browns isn't going to be confined to the stat sheet. It's about the subtle, game-defining situations where elite quarterbacks separate themselves. And that's where he could completely reshape Cleveland's offensive identity. Take the 2-minute drill. For years, Browns fans have seen those drives turn into desperation heaves, wasted timeouts, or predictable play calls that stall before midfield. Sanders' calm pre-snap reads and willingness to take what the defense gives him could flip that script. He doesn't force hero ball throws just to make a highlight. He moves the chains efficiently, keeps the clock under control, and still finds chances to take a calculated deep shot. That's how you turn a just get into field goal range mindset into an actual touchdown drive. Then there's the red zone. Too often, Cleveland's trips inside the 20 have ended in field goals because of compressed space and conservative play calls. Sanders thrives in that space because of his quick decision-making. A pump fake to pull a safety, a sideline fade placed exactly where only his receiver can get it, a rollout to buy an extra second. These are the little moves that can take a team from middle of the pack in red zone efficiency to elite. And on 3rd and long, that's where defensive coordinators love to tee off with exotic blitzes. Sanders' quick release and ability to identify mismatches before the snap could make those situations less about survival and more about opportunity. Instead of playing scared and settling for a punt, you can actually convert those downs and keep drives alive. The point is, giving Sanders more first-team reps isn't just about development. It's about unlocking an entire layer of offensive capability the Browns haven't consistently had in years.